Hello and welcome back to Lore Hammer. I'm your host on this exciting episode of bloodlust, violence, and all around rage. Hey Christian, how's it going, buddy?
Good. I'm not quite as enraged as you are, but we'll see how angry I get by the end of the episode, depending on how stupid your notes are.
Yeah, well, there'll be some times where, like on that Nurgle episode, we did a word check. How many times did we say plague? 93, I think, or something. So we'll figure out how many times we said blood, and that will be how many times you get to beat me or lash me.
I'll be tongue lashing you, all right.
And something very exciting, there's actually going to be two Bone Lords in this episode. Khorne, of course, and then Court, the Tooth Boy. Hello, what kind of teeth are you wearing today?
As if it was some sort of fashionable thing of like, who are you wearing? Well, I'm wearing my friend Alec, his wisdom tooth. Oh my god, so wild. Yeah, good to be here. Yeah. Yes. Oh man. Yeah. So we definitely discovered some fun collecting habits of mine where friends have given me their wisdom teeth over the years, and I just have a weird box of it lying around because I was making jewelry out of it. So
we actually had a listener question about this weird fetish for you.
And, it's not a fetish. It's not. This is not my fault to Slanesh. I'm telling you right now.
This life choice, we'll say then. And the question was, if your kid gives you the tooth fairy a tooth, can you take it? Because you're not the tooth fairy, and as we know, you can only take teeth that are given to you. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, so that would be fine. I just wouldn't want to wear it around because then it would be like, isn't that my tooth? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Pick it up from another kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, well, I hope that answered your question there, listener. I know we've all been dying to know more about this. And, like I said, Court, you're not the only bone collector in this episode. Today, we're talking about Khorne, specifically his demons. It's going to be fun. We've done 2 episodes like this. We've done the Nurgle and the Cheech one, so it'll be fun to do this 3rd one. But before we get to it, let's do some housekeeping. That could be Court.
Oh, that's me. That's me. Yes. So check this out, guys. Okay. April Fool's Day, April 1st, is a Tuesday, which means we've got the show. I had an idea that I came up with and pitched it to Mark, and he's like, go for it. Great. Give me a night off. So what we're going to do is we're still going to have Mark, we're going to have Christian, and we're going to have Logan and myself, and I will be hosting Lore Hammer Trivia Night. So it's going to be like a game show. Da-na-na-na-na-na, Lore Hammer. And it's going to be great. So for the 2-hour episode, I'm going to host a trivia show where I'm going to put these guys to the test. We're going to have different categories. It's going to be a little bit like Jeopardy. It's going to be some serious stuff of like, okay, let's test your lore, see what you know. And a lot of it's just going to get off the rails and get fun. So this is your first ever Lorehammer trivia show, April 1st. This is happening, by the way. This is an April Fool's joke. So I'm just telling you.
This is bad timing, but it is happening.
It is happening. So the chat is going to be part of this. They are going to have a specific part in this game. So if you want to jump in, please, it's going to be 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is whatever the fuck the rest of you guys are. I don't know, but
check the Discord.
Check the Discord. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be great, and the chat will have a part to play in this. And so, speaking of chat, you got to jump on, get on the Imperial Tithe. So, Christian, you want to, or Mark, why don't you tell the folks about the Imperial Tithe?
Yeah, for $2.50, you don't get any more ads. Adios, ads. You just get to hear our voice, and then the smart people fast forward 2 minutes, and then you don't even hear this semi-ad. So then you're really playing the system. All for $2.50, or you could get the video version too, which is pretty fun for $5. You can get involved in the live streams.
Yeah, which is an awesome perk as well. You can join the show either via the chat room during the show, and you can throw in your questions or comments and joke around, just like right now with Jack. He's asking Court how many random teeth he's eaten. I'm going to guess more than 30. That seems like a reasonable number.
It seems reasonable.
And even better, you get to even call in at the end of a show. So if you've always wanted to be on Warhammer for the low price of $250 a month, you can call and maybe be chosen by Mark himself.
Wow, chosen, honored.
It's like you're being called up, like we found you on some Forge World planet, and the Emperor Mark has just landed and is like, "Come, my son, let us talk."
We have worked together. Let us talk together. Another great comment. We got a usurper happening. Courthammer has been mentioned a couple times.
Yeah, liar. Yeah. Liar in the chat. Hell yeah.
So yeah, the trivia night on April 1st will be like the true Courthammer trivia, not just like halfway through Takeover, you know? I'm hyped. Will there be any physical feats happening in this game? Like, will I get to see Christian wrestle? Hey, Puma. For points.
There may be a physical challenge. It'd be like Double Dare. Like you'll have to choose physical challenge. We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. No, I'm excited. Yeah, cool. Well, let's get into this episode. I titled it "The Blood Legions of Khorne" because we're talking about the Blood Legions of Khorne. Take a shot every time we say blood, and that's a surefire way to die. So, just heads up. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk in this episode about Khorne himself for a little bit, real quick. Then his demons, get into true names, deaths, possession, and demon weapons, and binding demons to things, which is pretty fun. We joke about binding demons to all manner of random household objects, like to a vacuum cleaner, and now it ferociously, attacks the dirt in your carpet till your house is spotless clean. It's a perfect kind of demon to put in such a place. And then we're going to talk about the Blood Legions themselves, their war gear, and we'll break down the specific demons that are in it. The greater demons, the lesser demons, beast steeds, all of those things. And then at the end of this episode, we're going to talk about the notable demons of Khorne, which I've always liked two of them, Karnak and Scarbrand. They've always been kind of just tight from way back in the day and always cool.
Yeah. Well, right now my dishwasher has been possessed by a greater demon of Khorne and is attacking all of the leftover food on my dishes. So it's doing a really good job. Yes. If you guys hear it in the background, that's what's going on. So
yes.
Yeah.
Wash for the soap king or something. Dishwasher for the dishwash god.
Yeah. Is Mr. Clean just a Khornate demon of the cleanliness? Maybe. I don't know. He's definitely anti-Nurgle. I'll tell you that. He's not a Nurgle boy. Yeah. Well, let's get into the Blood Legions of Khorne. So, Khorne, the blood god, is the chaos god of war, violence, and unrelenting slaughter in the Warhammer 40k universe. He embodies the raw fury of battle, demanding bloodshed and skulls from his followers, whether they fight for honor or sheer brutality. Unlike the other chaos gods, Khorne despises sorcery, favoring skill and direct combat. His domain, the Brass Citadel, stands atop a mountain of skulls within the warp, surrounded by rivers of blood. Not a very subtle guy. He's just really, really into the aesthetic. Just leans heavy into it.
Yeah, not a lot of points in IQ, but a lot in strength.
Yeah, the theme is there. The theme is there. So, well, his followers, from mighty Chaos Space Marines to berserk cultists, chant his infamous war cry. And we know it. Let's all say it together. Blood for the blood god.
Blood god.
Skulls for the skull throne. I will say, how many times, listeners, have you heard somebody yell this before or after they roll their dice on the table? Yeah. I mean, it is so often.
Yeah,
my dad used to yell it when he was beating my mom. I'm not sure it was related to 40k though.
I don't think so.
Just kidding. My parents love each other very much.
It's so funny because I know your parents very well, and that's not them at all. Yeah. No. Well, wait. How do you get back after that derailment? Yeah, Khorne. He's like you said there, Court. He's pretty straightforward, man. Like there's not a lot of subtlety to him.
Yeah, I mean, you get what you should know what you're getting into when you start worshiping Khorne. I mean, you probably want to, if that's your flavor. You're probably already worshiping him, and you don't really know it because you're in the same vibe and you just like what he's about.
Yeah. If you pass out when you see blood, maybe this god isn't for you.
Not for you. Sorry.
Not for you. And that's fine. That's fine.
Maybe he'll heal you of your squeamishness. Maybe he'll make you embrace it.
Maybe and
maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, he'll force you to face your fear first. He'll drown you in a sea of blood until you accept that blood's no longer scary. And if you don't, then that's when he takes the skull.
Yeah. Either way, you're going to serve him, be it on his throne or adding to it. All right. Well, let's get into his demons. Khorne's demons are savage manifestations of his unrelenting fury, existing solely to wage war and claim skulls in his name. The most common among them are bloodletters, the foot soldiers of the blood god, wielding massive hellblades and fighting with disciplined yet frenzied aggression. Towering over them are the blood crushers, bloodletters mounted atop juggernauts, hulking demon-infused war beasts of brass and fury. More fearsome still are the fleshhounds, relentless bestial hunters, immune to sorcery and the skull cannons, infernal war machines that launch explosive skulls into enemy ranks. Do you think that makes Khorne angry, that they're using his precious skulls as ammunition?
Yeah, just watching them explode on people into a powdered mist. Like, no,
that's not what those are for.
That was Jeremy's. Champion Jeremy.
Khorne's elite demons include the mighty Bloodthirsters, greater demons of immense power, each an unstoppable avatar of destruction, wielding massive axes and whips to tear through entire armies. All Khorne's demons share a singular purpose: endless battle. For in slaughter, their master grows stronger. I mean, they're all pretty straightforward, all straight shooters.
Yeah.
Just like their god.
Hearing, Khorne and brass so often kind of got me thinking just about the other gods. Brass gets lumped in with the color of red, even though brass is a metal. Do the gods have any metals? Like, do the other gods have a specific metal, you think? Or maybe you could be Slaanesh is diamonds or jewels or something like that. Do you kind of get the concept of what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah.
I think Nurgle would be a fan of a patinaed copper, like the oxidized copper, because it's taken over. There's a chemical process that has taken over it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Jack in the chat says Slaanesh is latex.
Saw that. Saw that. Oh, that's good.
I think Chinch would be bismuth. That
bismuth.
Beautiful rainbow color.
Yeah,
it's like the rainbow colored and geometric, it forms into these very square, angular shapes naturally.
Whoa, yeah, that's
holy
neat.
Shit. Yeah.
It's definitely Chinch if I ever saw it.
Oh, wait, is that? Hang on.
Yeah.
I think that's this. Sorry, I'm holding it up for listeners.
Yeah. Yeah. Please describe what it is, the object.
A buddy of mine at the game store thanked me for teaching him all these games last year, and he made this. This is a lead or huge. I mean, this thing's fucking heavy, half dome, and inside there's a bunch of these bismuth crystals that he created.
Yeah, that's
and
sweet.
I'm wondering if it'll focus a little bit here. But yeah, it's inside.
One of them looks like a pyramid and looks like a spire on Prospero.
Yeah, look at that. And you could see there's steps on the side. It's amazing. Yeah, he made this. So I was honored. I put it up here on my studio.
That's good timing. Yeah.
Well, I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is, and I looked up the picture. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got that.
I got that right here.
Planned that to happen for 10,000 years.
Yeah. And I've got a skull up here too. Am I just a chaos worshiper? Is that what
could be? Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean,
or the collectible. You're gonna be very old and eccentric. I can already tell.
That's fine. We're going down that path. We're going down it. I like
it.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun little tangent. No, that's kind of cool. That you could almost kind of get each one to have a medal or a gemstone almost.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about true names. A demon of Khorne, though it may be known by 100 wrath-drenched titles across 1,000 battlefields, bears only one true name, a demonin, forged from the molten fury of the blood god, roared into existence upon the killing fields of the immaterium. These names are not mere labels, but searing brands of slaughter, etched into the demon's very essence with the weight of every skull it has claimed. No mortal tongue can utter them without choking on the sheer violence they invoke. For to speak a bloodletter's true name is to taste the acrid tang of the battlefield gore, to feel the raw hunger of carnage. The raw hunger for carnage claws at one's soul. Yet to know such a name is to wield power over the bearer, a secret sought by warlocks, heretic lords, and blasphemous sorcerers who dare to bind a demon of Khorne to their will. Ancient bloodstained grimoires, such as the Tome of Crimson Oath and the Codex Exsanguius, whisper of these forbidden names, scrawled in the ink mixed with the lifeblood of the unworthy. But no chain can hold Khorne's chosen forever. No matter how many sigils are burned into their flesh, no matter how many sorceries are woven to shackle their rage, the blood god's servants will always seek to break free. There is no greater betrayal to them than to deny them the slaughter they were born to bring. Yeah. And then I got a list of true names here. But before we go and try to pronounce some of these, it's interesting the difference between the bloodletters and the Nurgle demons when you kind of bind them or speak their true name. The Khorne ones get angry, and the Nurgle ones are like, okay, you can kind of let us possess this guy, and we'll just kind of walk around spreading plague and whatever.
Yeah.
Are you gonna really try and pronounce these? Because I'm very excited for this moment.
I think we all are gonna take a whack at it. I'll give the first one a go. Gar Zulthrax Khorne, and that means the Crimson Executioner. And I think you kind of gotta do almost piratey, like R's, but not quite full Caribbean, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Are we taking turns? Are we gonna try and stumble at this? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, give it a go.
All right. We got the blade that thirsts, but his true name would be Rathgor Drakor.
Not enough phlegm in that one.
They got it.
Yeah. Perfect. And then my personal favorite is the Skulltaker Shadow, also known as Carthel Garmborn. That one actually wasn't that bad.
It almost like mumbles out at the end, like you got sick of saying the words, so you just
The fun thing is you can get away with it with these Khorne names.
Oh man. Yeah, so some fun ones, but you get the vibe. Just imagine whatever we're saying is making you mad just by the way we're saying it, because that's the goal.
It looks like the HR person for Khorne just was like, you know what, fuck this, and just like furiously typed on their computer,
smashes it with their fist.
Just like fuck this, and then added a bunch of apostrophes randomly, or like Khorne's cat, like was like, okay, well, I got to name these demons. Like, let's get these guys. Oh, Fluffy, son of a bitch, and then like Fluffy's like on the keyboard, and he's like, oh, it's saved. Fuck, it's saved. All right.
Saved and shut it down. We can't get back in.
Little known fact: those little wings on the helmets of the Khorne berserkers are actually for cat ears.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Francois.
There you go.
I mentioned this to the other boys' court, but I'd mention it to you too about just true names and the process of a true name, and it's kind of the chicken and the egg scenario. I was kind of raising the question of if the true name came first before the demon essence was created, like, the gods like, okay, you're going to be the Crimson Executioner. And then he speaks Garzakram. And then the demons actually manifested after. It's like the meaning is out there.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's some cool lore to that. I wonder if the need happens first. So like, I need a demon that's going to just be like, I don't know, the Wrath Unchained, and then or if these demons somehow like earned their titles, but I don't know. I mean, Khorne is like the god of honor too, but
there's your true name, and then there's demons have many, many names, as well. Yeah. So you can still earn your infinite amount of titles, but like your true name is like,
Yeah. And then what if you didn't like live up to your true name? What if you're like, oh God, this guy is not fucking unyielding in his butchery. He yields. He is the yielding butcher. Can we get rid of him?
And then Khorne could, but I don't think it works like that. I think like it becomes a reality. It's like spoken into reality. Yeah. This is what you are. I have put only this essence into you. You're only actually capable of this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, that's cool.
That's a fun thought.
Yeah. So then, aside from true names, we have true deaths. So Khorne's demons, forged in the crucible of endless war, endure as long as the blood god's wrath demands it, their existence bound to the tides of battle. When slain, in quotation, they do not perish as mortals do, but are cast back into the howling depths of the warp, their forms bursting into torrents of blood and embers before reforming upon the war-torn plains of Khorne's domain. There, amidst rivers of boiling gore and mountains of skulls, they sharpen their weapons, train for the next slaughter, and seethe in frustration, yearning to return to the battlefield. Whether summoned by war cries of slaughter-hungry cultists, the dark rites of chaos warlords, or the sheer magnitude of carnage itself, they will always find their way back to the mortal realm. Yet even these immortal warriors can suffer a fate worse than mere banishment, true death, a final obliteration that denies them the chance to spill blood ever again. Such an end can only be wrought by weapons infused with a force greater than chaos itself.
Did you just stop for dramatic pause?
For a demon of the blood god, there is no greater horror than to be silenced forever, unable to take a single skull in his name. Sorry, Christian, you were saying something? Did we goof there?
No, all good. All good.
Oh, okay.
Jack had a cool question about true names. Listen, I get dead naming a demon sends them away, but like, wouldn't giving them shitty names take away their anger and their power to an extent?
Like mockery? Is that what we're kind of saying?
If every time you give them a new name, their essence becomes like a new pie section, oh, now he's 22% this name. But I don't think those names that are given outside of the true name have that power, that same
sticks quality. And stones, man.
Yeah,
sticks and stones.
It is the mortal giving them a name, like just the humans on a planet that felt his wrath, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the Blood Lake demon guy, and like,
yeah,
it's different than when Khorne like spoke the demon into existence in my mind. But
yeah, well, I mean, then it would be way too easy to defeat them too. Like you just name call them all to death.
Like, you're a coward and a not good demon.
Yeah.
It's like in The Exorcist, like it's one of the most terrifying movies ever, but the demon's name is Pazuzu. Like that's not very cool. Like that's not terrifying. It sounds like you have like one of those desserts from Chili's, like a Pazuki. It's like a pizza cookie, like Pazuzu.
Yeah, but you better believe I'm not saying that in a mirror 3 times. Yeah, it sounds goofy, but
it is a Mesopotamian god, though. Pazuzu, that's why they used it. It's from what's that movie? The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
It's a real god's name.
That was your actually moment for this. That was good. Actually, it's a Mesopotamian god. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's one of those like.
You're still not intimidated.
I'm not intimidated by that. No, but if you were like Garnak Throlakoses, I'd be like, fuck, that's terrifying.
That's
yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into, ironically enough, possession. I couldn't have teed that up better. Demons of Khorne do not scheme in the shadows or fester in the minds of mortals like a slow disease. They tear through the veil between realms with sheer force, breaching reality in a storm of fire, fury, and slaughter. Their presence is not a creeping corruption, but an eruption of violence, a blood-soaked manifestation of the blood god's eternal hunger for war. When the barriers between the warp and real space weaken, whether through the carnage of the battlefield, the frenzied rites of a berserker cult, or the unrelenting hatred of a war-racked world, the demons of Khorne come roaring forth. Their howls of rage echo across reality, their blades carving through the flesh and soul alike. Psychers, whose wretched wielders of foul sorcery, are particularly despised by Khorne's minions, and should one falter in their focus, even for a moment, a demon may rip through the breach, riding the backlash of psychic instability like a spear hurled into the heart of the mortal plane. Yeah, that's kind of cool how they just emerge the way that they are, violently.
Yeah, like, they just rip a hole through the real space.
Yeah, or through the psyker that is the conduit of real space. The psyker explodes into a fountain of blood and then...
Pretty cool.
It's fitting. It's very thematic.
I love it.
Khorne knows how to make an entrance. Some warriors already drowning in bloodlust welcome possession, believing it a divine blessing from the Lord of Battle. Their bodies become living weapons, their flesh hardening into corded muscle, their veins pulsing with molten fury. Their minds are consumed by the demon's unyielding thirst for slaughter, their hands compelled to butcher without hesitation or remorse. These hosts, whether frenzied warlords or fanatical gladiators, become little more than vessels of carnage, their every breath a battle cry, their every heartbeat a drumbeat of war. Yet even more terrifying are the blood-forged war machines that house Khorne's demonic essence. Through dark rituals and sacrifice of warriors whose rage was deemed worthy, towering demon engines are born, colossal constructs of iron and hatred. Their forms wreathed in burning brass, their weapons howling with the bound souls desperate for slaughter. These monstrosities do not spread corruption, they spread annihilation, grinding cities into dust beneath their treads, leaving nothing in their wake but skulls and the echo of war.
Fun. Yeah, I love all the different demon engines. We have a section on that in this episode for Khorne. Chris, you've mentioned you like the brass scorpion, and yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that thing's sick. Yeah. I guess a little side mention, and I'm sure if we ever get to a World Eaters episode, but the 8-bound are also some prolific possessed Khorne followers.
Yeah, like who would want to be possessed by a Khorne demon? Like bodybuilders, they would be great. They'd, instead of taking steroids, they take possession.
The steroids give them possession. That's why they have roid rage.
Yeah. Yeah, you could, any type of warrior pretty much is open to this type of possession. Well, any bad kind of guy, but yeah.
And the 8-bounders, I mean, they're sick models too, like getting to the tabletop factor in this. Khorne, like just as a whole, has some of the coolest models. Like the World Eater stuff has some really sick models here. And the 8-bound are no exception. I think they're rad. They're super cool.
Yeah, they just look so brutal.
We couldn't keep them in the store. Like, honestly, when I was working at Funk, we'd order 5 boxes. We're a small LGS. 5 boxes gone. Like, just reorder. Couldn't keep them in the store.
Many people getting possessed out there.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, mostly because, and big shout out to my one of my best friends, Tyler. He's a big chaos guy, and he was like Khorne full on, like, and I think he bought like 3 of the 5 boxes. So he was like, "Give me more, give me more Khorne." Yeah.
Jackass, do Khorne demons shrink your testes like roids? And no, that's where they actually live. Khorne demons live in the ball, so they make them bigger, enlarged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the point of possession. That's the entry point.
It is. It's close to the entry point. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that's messed up. Demon weapons. We talked about how all the demons have their own specific flavor. And Khorne is no exception. And I'm sure you can imagine what type of weapons the God of War would want. But Khorne demon weapons are brutal instruments of carnage forged in the raging fires of the blood god's domain and thirsting for the endless harvest of skulls. These are not mere weapons, but embodiments of raw fury, each housing a bound demon that shrieks for slaughter with every swing. Their forms are jagged and cruel, massive axes wreathed in warp fire, swords that drink the souls of the slain, and chain blades that roar like caged beasts, each tooth forged from the shattered remains of vanquished foes. Every wound they inflict is a death sentence, for these weapons do not merely cut flesh, they tear their very essence from the victims, drinking deep on their agony and feeding the insatiable hunger of Khorne. Unlike the treacherous sorceries of the other Chaos Gods, Khorne Demon Weapon is a being of absolute will and purpose, to kill, to conquer, to revel in war. Those who wield such weapons feel the raw power of Khorne coursing through their veins, their bodies strengthened, their wrath magnified, and their souls bound ever tighter to the Lord of Battle. To carry such a weapon is to become an extension of Khorne's will, a living avatar of destruction, marching ever forward in a ceaseless, blood-drenched crusade.
Sick.
Yeah. It's cool how each demon weapon, while also having their own appearance, like we're saying, axes and swords, they also have their own kind of effect to some degree. Like you get hit by a Khorne blade and it starts drinking your soul, and that's it. It's over for you. Where, you get hit by a Nurgle one and you might not get killed. You might just turn into some weird fly creature.
Mm-hmm.
Get super infected.
Yeah. I think what's cool too is I wonder, like, the design of these weapons obviously is for or purpose and will, like it has one goal, to kill. But do you think that they like take a little bit of like pleasure in the idea of like, let's see how much blood we can spill with this axe? Like that's a cool chain axe you got there, but could you make it like double? Like, could you put two sides to it? Or are they just like, no, this thing's gonna fuck shit up, let's go? Like, oh, wait. Maybe we put a big spike on the back. Yeah. Okay.
Now we're talking.
If
I can't kill 3 different things with one swing, what are we doing?
Yeah. I just think it'd be like they're designed for singular purpose, but I would bet that they take a little bit of like, but we're gonna make it as brutal as possible.
Yeah. Or like, the most blood drawn out affair where like you try to swing at somebody's neck to cut their head off, but the sword kind of angles your hand just slightly, so you nick the artery and then they squirt, like just subtle kind of tweaks that make the most the blood happen, and the weirdo is kind of unaware of this, and fun,
pretty rad.
You can also toss, as we've said in the other 2 episodes, you can toss demons into a lot of things. Demon engines is Khorne seems to really go well in demon engines because it just pisses the demon off more, which just makes him better. So it's kind of a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Rampage even harder.
Exactly.
Yep. Get your Leroy Jenkins moment in. So we'll talk about, I guess this is binding. So being bound. Though demons are bound by their intrinsic nature and the unbreakable will of their patron, mortals have long sought to bend these entities to their own designs, forging chains of demon Khorne. To imprison a child of the blood god is to ignite a war within one's own walls. For no demon of Khorne submits, no matter the strength of its bonds. To attempt such folly is to invite unrelenting wrath, an unceasing struggle of rage and ruin that does not end until the bindings are shattered or the captor is. A bound bloodletter thrashes and snarls within its prison, its form wreathed in crimson flame, its every roar a battle cry that reverberates through the warp. The sorcerer who binds it will feel their blood burn with ceaseless fury, their hands trembling with the need to strike, their every thought consumed by visions of slaughter. No ward holds forever, for Khorne's rage is ceaseless, and no mortal can resist the insidious temptation of violence. The longer a demon is caged, the stronger its influence grows, until the master becomes the servant, their mind shattered by bloodlust, their hands guided by an unseen force to carve the eightfold path into their own flesh. Yeah, so this is a big distinction amongst the other ruinous powers, because like we kind of mentioned previously, Khorne is one that's not to be persuaded. Khorne is one that's not to be negotiated with, or even the tricksy vibe, or Khorne's not really even patient at all. So when we talk about like Slaanesh, Nurgle, Tzeentch, those guys all have a little bit more of a well-rounded, if I could say, plan, and kind of a more long game sometimes. Like they play the long game. Khorne's just like, don't fucking touch me. I'm going to kill you. Khorne's demons are very they're not one to like be bound by anything. They're going to fight against it because it is against their purpose. And in that way, it's kind of cool because you can look at it as like they want to be free. They don't want to serve. They want to kill. They want to serve Khorne and nothing else. Not the wills of some dumb mortals with a fucking Ouija board.
Yeah, they're not making pacts like the other gods might, like you said, where it's just like, yeah, you might be able to pledge your allegiance to Tzeentch and have this plan, and he might agree and have some, let you kind of go on with it. But Khorne,
there might be a negotiation.
So the longer these demons are bound, they just get angrier and angrier, and then they eventually will break free. Eventually, they will become more powerful than you.
Yeah. We were joking earlier about Khorne being a straight shooter, but like legitimately, like you get what you get. There's no bargaining or reasoning with him. Like, just a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
All right, let's expand into the Blood Legions. Of all the infernal hosts that march beneath the banners of chaos gods, none are as disciplined in their savagery or as brutal in their hierarchy as the Blood Legions of Khorne. Though driven by an insatiable thirst for slaughter, they are no mere rabid beasts. The armies of the Blood God function on a single immutable law: might makes right. Power alone determines rank, and only those who carve their place in blood are worthy to stand above their kin. Weakness is annihilated, cowardice is unthinkable, and failure is rewarded with death. The Blood Legions are without rival in the Immaterium, their dominion stretching farther than any other through ceaseless war. On the battlefield, no other host can match their sheer power in the brutal press of melee. Rank is earned through combat, and a warrior's worth is measured by the corpses left in their wake. At the pinnacle stands the Bloodthirsters, towering engines of destruction, clad in brass and gore-streaked iron, their baroque armor pitted and blackened by the fires of war. They wield massive axes and barbed whips, each severing heads and flaying flesh. But they are not just warriors, they are warlords, commanders of the Blood Legions, their roars carrying over the din of battle as they drive their kin into the fray. Amongst their ranks, only the strongest survive, their authority unquestioned, their presence an unholy beacon to the slaughter-mad hordes that follow. Each Blood Legion is a seething tide of carnage, divided into 8 cohorts, each cohort comprising 8 packs of demons, led by heralds of Khorne, or demon princes. Their ranks are not static. Power shifts constantly, for the strong rise while the weak are butchered. No bonds of brotherhood exist, only the endless struggle for dominance.
So far, this operates very differently than the other legions, with like kind of this more strict hierarchy. Maybe the other demons have the hierarchy of greater demon, lesser demon, beast. They have that. But Khorne takes it and breaks it down even further. And I can just see, the bloodletters all fighting for position to be the first one through the warp portals that open up, the warp rifts. And that's like the honor. So they fight in the background, and whoever becomes most powerful gets that honor of first through the charge. And then he becomes the warlord, and they build and gain these titles. Well, I don't think the other demons quite do it the same way.
You know who else had that vibe? the White Scars, who we previously chatted about. Like they talked
Merrick
about
based. Okay.
Yeah, they had talked we talked a little bit about them doing the like not fighting, but like the who's gonna get the first kill, who's gonna get out there first, and vying for that position of like, no, I'm gonna fucking run out there first. And we talked to that about them being a very honorable legion, honorable chapter. And I think this is kind of that flip side a little bit where it is, but it's the chaos version. But yeah, the regimented vibe here is kind of cool, but unleashing. But it does actually go with the vibe of Khorne the more you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there are element like warfare. I think I mentioned this in the Khorne episode of like being more the regimented rank side of warfare as much as the blood and slaughter. And that obviously carries through the ranking system of the demons.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the 8s always present with Khorne being a sacred number. So you have 8 cohorts and everything is in 8s.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Tide legions embody this endless hunger for blood. Their formations a relentless wave of bloodletters crashing into the foe, cutting through flesh and steel alike with their hell-forged blades. Where they march, death follows, and with it comes a carry-on feeding furies, drawn to the slaughter like vultures to a corpse. The Hellfire legions strike with sheer brutality, their might bolstered by the infernal war machines of Khorne. Skull cannons roar, spewing burning death, while soul grinders and the monstrous lords of skulls stride forward, reducing entire armies to shattered ruin beneath iron treads and blood-slicked fists. The Brazen Thunder legions are the hammer of Khorne's wrath, thundering across the battlefield upon blood thrones and juggernauts, their flesh hounds howling as they tear down fleeing prey. There is no escape, no sanctuary, only the hunt, the kill, and the endless offering of skulls to the brass throne. How many blood legions exist is known only to Khorne, and it matters little, for they are legion, their numbers ever replenished by the slaughter of the battlefield. Cohorts clash in savage ritualized combat, tearing each other apart in contests of strength and supremacy. Here, even the victors bleed, but it is their right to lead, to command, to kill in the blood god's name. For in the end, there is only war, only slaughter, and only the strong remain.
Cool. I love the Brazen Thunder Legion. Man, there's been games of 40K that I've played, both like I've had this happen. I've seen it happen to other people where you deploy the armies and then the person knows, oh shit, I've lost. And they look up and they see what they're fighting, and they're fighting something like, oh, I don't know, 8x8 juggernauts with bloodletters on top of them. And it's just like this stampeding army of like violence. Or another great example, you look up and there's 120 orc boys in front of you and you're like, well, I've already just lost this game. You know, one of those kind of fuck. And I love that. I feel like this has always been one of my favorite kind of units ever. It's just that juggernaut with either a Chaos Space Marine on it or Bloodletter. Just this like demon engine that looks between like a bull and a rhino, but made of metal and will just trample you.
Yeah, the tactics are also very straightforward, just like Khorne, you know, just charge forward in the line and crush everything in your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of trickery and not a lot of surprise tactful moves. There's the enemy. Okay, now we're gonna go kill them. Yeah, but I don't care. You just go kill them. Yeah, but should we move around? Move around. Go fucking charge them.
It would be fun to come up with like a little demon who's kind of an outcast for Khorne, where he almost exclusively uses like artillery pieces and prefers to pin enemies down from afar. And like Christian, you said, you know, is always wasting Khorne skulls, and all the other demons make fun of him for it. Like, no, it's a fight. It's a real tactic. I promise.
Yeah. Is anybody else seeing that we should be flanking instead of running straight at these guys? Is that just me?
Jack asked, where does the name Juggernaut come from? I don't know if it comes from anything specifically other than outside of kind of what it feels like when you see it.
Like, is he talking in real life or in 40K specifically?
Yeah, maybe further expand that thought there.
I just Googled it too because I looked at the question, and apparently it comes from an anglicization of the word Jagannath, which is an important deity in the Hindu tradition. So,
yeah, I see that. Okay.
So what does this mean for us?
An unstoppable force.
Okay.
That's what it means.
Gentlemen, if we were to double nerd for a moment, of course, if you think Juggernaut, you also think of X-Men and the Juggernaut in the Marvel universe. And he's unstoppable and has just one goal and just fuck shit up.
Yeah. That's such a cool superpower. His power, I think, is like specifically once he builds momentum, it can't stop or something like that.
Yeah. Very similar.
Cool. Fun. Yeah, good times. No, the Juggernauts is sweet. We'll talk about war gear that they have. The Blood Legion has such things as gore banners of eternal slaughter and other brutal relics, seething with unrelenting fury of Khorne, driving the Blood God's warriors into a berserk frenzy. These accursed artifacts thrum with the energy of endless battle, their presence igniting the rage of those who stand beneath them. Blades grow sharper, muscles burn with unholy strength, and the air itself becomes thick with the scent of blood and fire. There's no slow decay, no insidious sickness, only the raw, undeniable power of carnage. Where once stood a disciplined battle line, now charges an unstoppable tide of howling berserkers, tearing through flesh and steel alike. The roar of war cries drowns out all reason, and the earth shakes beneath their charge. And amidst the slaughter, the demons of Khorne howl in triumph as the skulls are claimed for the brass throne. The first thing they have is like a banner of rage. And this banner of rage is a relic soaked in hatred and fury of countless warriors. Its fabric woven from the souls of the most bloodthirsty devotees of Khorne. It thrums with an unholy energy, radiating an aura of pure wrath that seeps into the minds of those who stand near. Battle-hardened veterans who once fight with discipline are reduced to frenzied berserkers, their vision clouded by a crimson haze as the need to spill blood consumes them. Blades strike with savage strength, unyielding even in the face of mortal wounds, as warriors heed only the deafening call to slaughter. The air crackles with raw aggression, and as the banner whips in the wind, it carries not just the scent of battle, but the tormented howls of the damned, urging all who hear them to fight and kill and offer their foes broken bodies to the blood god. That banner's just whispering death and destruction in your ear if you get close, and you start seeing that red haze.
Yeah, it's kind of like the vibe of like the red like flag being waved in front of the bowl. I kind of get that vibe too, you know.
Yeah, is that what happens to the Juggernauts? They're sensitive to red, and that makes them mad. And since there's blood everywhere, they're always just like fucking pissed and charging everything.
Yeah. Who hurt you guys? Let's just sit and talk about this. Come on.
They also have other various icons of chaos, from brutal and unyielding symbols of the blood god's eternal wrath, each representing a twisted manifestation of his insatiable thirst for bloodshed. These sigils, often depicted as blood-drenched skulls, jagged axes, or snarling hounds, serve as both a mark of allegiance and a rallying point for Khorne's followers. To bear one of these icons is to declare oneself a warrior of savage glory, a vessel for the endless rage that courses through the veins of all who serve the blood god. Whether engraved on armor, banners, or weapons, these symbols emanate an aura of violent purpose, instilling an unholy fury in all who behold them. In the heat of battle, they serve as beacons of carnage, drawing Khorne's followers into a berserker frenzy, amplifying their thirst for slaughter and ensuring that no mercy is shown. Each icon is a brutal reminder of Khorne's dominion over the battlefield, where only the strong survive and the weak are left as nothing more than sacrifices for the blood god's unquenchable rage.
It's pretty rad. I have a question to pose for you guys, and then maybe there's actual like factual answer in this as far as the lore goes. are there power? Is there power in these symbols themselves? Like, these marks are cool, or is it kind of like, oh, like I'm drawing my favorite band's logo on my notebook. I'm in high school. Da 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 da. You know, I like it. It's cool. But like, are there actual, tangible, powerful forces that are imbued in these symbols?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Anytime like there's markings like in the books and things, usually it leads to something. And I'm sure there's like all kinds of rules around it, like intentionality and like the power level of the person and the exact pattern of the markings to like actually do like a summoning ritual or something. But it's like, especially the word bearers are known for like, you know, unholy scripts that they tattoo on their faces and things. So
yeah, okay, that's kind of what I figured. But
there is that like kind of interesting line, like you said though, Court. Like, okay, so a kid doodles the Khorne symbol in his notebook during school. It's like a demon doesn't just like manifest in his book. Yeah, like there does have to be some like maybe blood sacrifice tied to it, maybe, or the symbol maybe if it's done in blood means a little bit more. There's definitely like variants for sure, or gradients of power level.
Yeah, and like I said, Jack, like intentionality behind it too, right? Like the warp is all about emotion, right? So like, no, I'm my intention is to summon a demon while etching these things in blood versus, yeah, you're just bored and just drawing shit.
Yeah. Jack brings up a good point too. Like he says that we've seen loyalists react to markings like they're getting sick from it. So in that, absolutely, I think that's a really cool thing to go for too, is that it not just affects the bearer in the sense of like, it empowers me. This is strong. It's cool. Like when I wear a 9 Inch Nails shirt, I feel pretty cool, like, because it's got the 9 Inch Nails logo. But it also offends others in the sense of like, oh, I don't like that. You know,
I love that.
Yeah.
While I do obviously think that is very much the case, a little bit of devil's advocate here. What if it's also a backfiring of the psycho conditioning that Space Marines and other Imperial forces undergo, in the terms of like their knee-jerk reaction to everything chaos is because they're trained to hate it. So like their ill feelings are actually self-induced because their, you know, exposure rituals and things, you know, through their indoctrination and everything. I'm just playing devil's advocate if you wanted to do a more kind of secular-ish 40K, but
yeah,
I think that
yeah, I think that works too, you know, and you know, for sure. In dating, at least I hear the best way to lose like a partner is if you do something to disgust them. Like disgust is the most like,
yeah, it's worse than hatred.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a very negative emotion. So if you can get somebody to discuss that and feel disgust when they see that Khorne symbol, they're not going to fall as much.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting. That's like, if I was dating somebody like, hey, Nickelback's coming to town and I got tickets.
There's nothing wrong with Nickelback.
Disgust. Break up.
Bye.
Leave.
Bye.
Bye, bitch.
Nope.
Look at this war band. You don't want that concert. Jeez.
No.
No, I to retract my statement, I don't actually believe that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Relationship advice from Mark, says Jack. It was pretty good advice, though. I don't know if it's advice, but don't disgust your partner is probably the advice.
Yeah.
So we'll jump to instruments of chaos. And when I say instruments, I do mean musical instruments. I kind of think we need to do an episode on musical instruments in 40K. Anything from sound marines and to goth rockas, you know? I've been looking at some AI generated sound things where we can generate some of these noises and probably put it in or play it somehow. So that'd be a fun episode to do.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Okay, just real quick, music and 40K. Just real quick.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I had an industrial project that has like 8 songs, and maybe at some point for the patrons on Patreon, I'll release a few of them. But it was an industrial project, kind of Nine Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy, Frontline Assembly-esque, and it was called Tech Priest. It was called Tech Priest, and I even had it trademarked, and GW couldn't like fuck with me on that because it was like a different. It wasn't model range or writing; it was just music. So it was literally trademarked for a while. It was called Tech Priest. So instruments of 40K. There we go. Anyways, carry on.
Yes. Okay, yeah, no, you'll be the guy on that episode for sure. We'll talk music, and I'll finally have something to say. Well, I'm like, yeah,
just drop a bomb like that and walk away.
Sorry, dropped it. I even have this. I even have the fun like symbol tattooed on my back, which we will not show right now.
You're willing to show us your teeth collection, but not your skin on your back. That's fine. That's fair. The musical instruments of Khorne are not tools for melody, but instruments of violence. Their sound a call to bloodshed and mayhem. Crafted from the bones and skulls of the fallen in battle, these instruments resonate with guttural power of the blood god himself. War drums bound with the sinews of defeated foes pulse with the rhyme that stirs the bloodlust of Khorne's followers. Each beating a summons to war. Each beat a summons to war. Brass horns twisted and jagged, blasting a deafening fanfare that echo the promise of slaughter, while the harsh, discordant screech of the bone pipes wails like the screams of the damned. The music these instruments create is not meant for pleasure or celebration, but for destruction, driving all to hear it into a berserk fury. When the sound of Khorne's instrument fills the air, it is a signal that only chaos, violence, and death await, and that no mercy will be shown. These instruments will serve as the war drums of the blood god's legions, driving them into a frenzy and ensuring that every battle is a sacrificial slaughter to sate Khorne's insatiable rage. I love the brass horn as an instrument of Khorne. You get that element of like the metal, and you get that musical instrument. Like horns have always, they've been used for war calls for a long time. Battle trumpets and stuff. So I think it very much pleases Khorne.
Yeah, there's a simplicity to it, which is cool because music carries and resonates with so much of us. And like, if you ever mute a movie that you really enjoy, it doesn't have that feeling because you can't hear the score. Like the music moves us, and it's rhythmic. And so like war drums being such a big thing, the brass, like you said, Mark, like think of that Hans Zimmer sound, the classic, like,
yeah,
like it moves you to the like, fuck yeah, this is cool. The berserk nature of like it driving you into a frenzy of violence, chaos, and just rage. Something similar to that is for me is the Nightmare Before Christmas Revisited album, when it's a bunch of shitty bands covering Danny Elfman's masterpiece. So like when I hear Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy or whatever it is performing Danny Elfman's music, I just go into a violent rage of like, this is fucking bullshit. So it's very much similar. Like if I hear, I'm looking at the playlist, like if I hear Flyleaf doing What's This, man, or All American Reject, like this is my Khorne music. Where like if somebody puts this on, I'm like, okay, let's go. Like
fists are flying.
Yeah.
What are we, 16-year-old girls, huh?
No, this is bullshit. No, but Slayer too. Like if I listen to Slayer, Raining Blood, or like Angel of Death, like fuck yeah, same thing. So yeah. Anyway, my superior dumb ways of like actually just with the hierarchy of my snobbery is showing in this episode for sure.
No, it's fine. I think that's allowed.
Okay.
Because in this episode, every time somebody disagrees with you, they're allowed to challenge you to a fist fight.
Okay, they'll probably
in honor
win.
of Khorne. Yeah. Well,
that's okay. They'll probably win. I'm not much of a fighter, but well, let's get into some demon princes then. And this is such a cool part of I think what Khorne's got going on. So, demon princes. Once mortal champions of chaos, demon princes have transcended their former existence, ascending to immortality as favored servants of the dark gods. Their purpose. So the Khorne demon princes are the embodiments of pure rage and martial prowess within the armies of Khorne. They were once mighty mortals, warriors, champions, or tyrants who, through thirst for power and bloodshed, earned the favor of the true blood god. Their ascension to demon prince status marks their eternal servitude to Khorne, and they serve as generals, tacticians, and conquerors on the battlefield. Their purpose is singular: to lead Khorne's legion to glory through endless war, to spill blood in Khorne's name, and to drown the galaxy in an unceasing torrent of violence. They are the embodiment of the blood god's thirst for endless slaughter and are marked by their brutal determination to claim dominance over all they encounter. Khorne demon princes appear as towering, monstrous figures, their forms a grotesque amalgamation of their former mortal bodies and the fiery fury of their patron god. Their once human features are twisted and contorted, their faces often half covered in blood-stained armor or obscured by howling demonic masks. Muscles bulge beneath their grotesque skin, which may be covered in scars from countless battles or adorned with the jagged remnants of their past. Their armor is decorated with symbols of Khorne, skulls, blood drops, and brass spikes, often stained with the gore of their enemies. Their eyes burn with the eternal fire of hatred, glowing with an unholy. Horns, fangs, and claws sprout from their bodies, emphasizing their monstrous otherworldly nature. The very sight of a demon prince is enough to strike terror into the hearts of mortals and inspire awe in their followers. Yeah, visually it feels there's a commonality obviously within demon princes amongst the ruinous powers, amongst the chaos gods. And I feel like with Khorne specifically, they tend to have the more spiky bits. Like I literally remember picking up my buddy Tyler, again, my buddy chaos player Tyler. I picked up one of his like Khorne models in AOS, I think it was, and it had a spiked bit that just perfectly went right under my fingernail, like in the nail bed, and I fucking bled. I'm not kidding. Like it just God damn it. God. And they tend to have more of the overt, spiky, celebratory in the sense of like danger vibe.
Yeah. More skulls hanging from them and trophies and stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
Here's an interesting thought. Like on tabletop, we have examples of demon princes, and they're all roughly the same size. They're all roughly the same power level. I wonder if, if you step away from tabletop and trying to balance the game, if demon princes, how much they vary in power level, and can you have a demon prince that's not just like a 15-foot tall demon prince, but is like this huge, 50-foot tall beast, or maybe not that big, but how wide of a power level range could this really be? Or maybe mortal bodies only have so much power they can hold, so they can only reach a certain level.
I don't know. That's a good question. Christian, I feel like you'd have a good thing to say about that.
I don't have a good thing to say about that, but I would caution against physical size necessarily translating to power level.
Oh, my tallest, come on. We all know the bigger the better.
The very orky of you. I could see there being like very powerful, more compact forms.
Sure.
Obviously in relative scale. I do think there is a range, but probably like within an upper limit and a lower limit. And I think that because you do have maybe not demon princes, but you do have greater demons, and that could be the distinguishing factor of trying to ascend to godhood and not quite being able to, but they are also in essence of the god, versus a demon prince that maybe their individuality might actually afford them the opportunity to ascend even higher. Just haven't seen it happen yet. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into their powers and abilities. Khorne demon princes possess overwhelming physical strength and near unparalleled mastery of close combat. No surprise there. They are lightning quick on the battlefield, cleaving through their enemies with brutal efficiency and ferocity. Their power is not limited to raw strength, however. They also have the ability to harness the raw, violent energies of the warp, using it to enhance their blows, summon destructive forces, or even manipulate the battlefield itself to their advantage. Some demon princes can unleash devastating shockwaves of psychic force, while others may summon ethereal warriors to fight at their side. They are also able to absorb the souls of the fallen, becoming ever more powerful as they claim victory after victory. The most deadly of Khorne's champions are practically unstoppable, driven by the unyielding will of the blood god to bring about total destruction. And we talk about their war gear now. So Khorne demon princes are armed with an array of fearsome war gear that amplifies their brutal nature. These weapons are often forged in the fiery depths of the warp and imbued with the very essence of Khorne's rage. Not unlike Sauron in the One Ring, double nerding, and commonly they wield massive axes, swords, or cleavers, blades of enormous size that can cleave through armed foes with ease. Some demon princes carry spiked maces or chain swords designed to tear apart their enemies with a brutal, relentless force. In addition to their deadly weapons, many are clad in heavy, blood-stained armor, adorned with the skulls of their enemies. These suits of armor grant them resilience against even the most potent attacks, and some are so infused with Khorne's power that they can heal wounds as the demon prince continues to slay in the name of the blood god. This combination of potent weaponry and nearly indestructible armor makes Khorne demon princes amongst the most terrifying and unstoppable forces in the universe. Yeah, man. When, again, my buddy Tyler, he's like the chaos guy, when we play 40K or even AOS, like, and he plops down a demon prince, I'm like, okay, I either need to take that off the fucking table or I need to work around it, because that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I kind of like this visual of a demon prince who, when he's getting wounded, the way he heals himself is when he kills somebody and blood splashes on his body, like where the blood splashes kind of rejuvenates and heals, so he just grows back and he's getting drenched in blood and getting wounded. Very meaty, very slimy sounding, slick.
Yeah. And it's like when I don't know if you guys I'm sure you guys have experienced this. It's like, I don't know, you're doing like a bunch of yard work or like playing a sport, usually like a sport, you're doing something like active and your adrenaline's going, and you get hurt. You don't know it for like an hour later or moments later, and you're like, oh shit, I'm bleeding. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah,
I bet that's these guys to like the 10th, nth degree, where it's like, oh shit, my arm, it's reforming. Oh fuck, I didn't even know I lost it. Well, thanks, Khorne. You're reforming my arm. That's cool.
Perfect. A little dab of blood will do ya.
Yeah, they're just enraged to where they don't even notice that they're wounded, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just while on the topic of demon princes, I can't believe we've never brought this up when we spoke about the models last time. But the 2002 Chaos Space Marine Demon Prince was like pinnacle Demon Prince for me.
2002.
Yeah, the one that looks specifically like a mutated Space Marine. Like,
oh yes, I know which one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I even forgot that model existed, and I just had like a flash in my mind while you were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, that was like peak.
Yeah, that came out when it was like between 3rd and 4th edition, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember when that came out, and that's like that hunched model with like the long fingers and the big sword. And
yeah,
it's such a cool, it's such a cool model to look at, but to build, because that thing was metal. That was a fucking metal model. And I remember my buddy Grant had that, and I was like, good luck, dude. And he built it. But I really like the newer one that they did too. It kind of pays homage to it. It has the same vibe a little bit. Yeah. Like the newer plastic kit is rad.
Yeah. And we did mention, I think, way earlier on that plastic kit is probably most fitting for Khorne. Not so much the other demons, but definitely.
Yeah. I remember we talked about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of classics, let's get into the greater demons. The colossal manifestations of the Chaos God's will. Greater demons are the most powerful entities within the warp, short of the dark gods themselves. Bloodthirsters. The Khorne Bloodthirsters are the supreme warriors and champions of the Blood God, embodying the pure, unrelenting nature of rage and slaughter. These greater demons are summoned to the battlefield to lead Khorne's legions and bring forth devastating destruction in his name. Their sole purpose is to spill blood, to crush their enemies underfoot, and to bring an unending tide of carnage to any who dare oppose the will of the Blood God. Bloodthirsters are the instruments of Khorne's war, and they revel in battle, seeking the greatest and most brutal combat to prove their might. They serve as both generals and executioners, seeking to destroy any who stand before them, while inspiring Khorne's followers with their raw power and indomitable rage. Bloodthirsters are towering, monstrous entities, towering over mortals and lesser demons alike. Their forms are a grotesque fusion of muscle, sinew, and burning anger. Standing as tall as a small building, Bloodthirsters possess wings of tattered leather, stretching taut over bone and sinew, which allow them to soar across the battlefield, striking terror into the hearts of their enemies. Their skin is often a shade of red or bronze, and their bodies are covered in blood-stained spiked armor, adorned with the symbols of Khorne: skulls, chains, and spiked rivets. Their faces are twisted into the perpetual snarl, filled with fangs and eyes that burn with the undying fire of Khorne's fury. Massive horns sprout from their foreheads, and they exude an aura of heat and rage that radiates across the battlefield. Bloodthirsters are the embodiment of wrath, their appearance alone enough to send foes fleeing in terror. Their powers and abilities. Bloodthirsters are formidable combatants, possessing immense physical strength, speed, and agility that defy the natural laws of the material world. In battle, they are relentless, cutting down their foes with devastating speed and precision. They possess the ability to summon warp field energy that enhances their attacks, allowing them to strike with overwhelming force, cleaving through even the toughest armor and shields. Bloodthirsters are also capable of emitting a blood-curdling roar that can paralyze weaker minds with fear, causing them to falter or flee before the onslaught. Their fury knows no bounds, and as they tear through their enemies, they grow stronger, feeding on the bloodshed and carnage that they create. In some cases, they can even regenerate from mortal wounds, further cementing their reputation as unstoppable forces of destruction. Bloodthirsters are armed with devastating weapons designed to reflect their brutal nature and the will of Khorne. Their most iconic weapon is the massive blood-drenched axe, or sword, which is capable of cleaving through entire ranks of enemies with a single strike. These weapons are often forged from the bones and souls of the vanquished, imbued with the pure essence of Khorne's wrath. Some bloodthirsters wield a whip made of barbed chains, which can be used to lash out at their enemies, tearing through flesh and bone with ease. Their armor is similarly brutal, crafted from thick plates of bone and brass, decorated with the skulls of their fallen foes. This combination of overwhelming weaponry and near impenetrable armor makes Bloodthirsters the embodiment of Khorne's desire for slaughter, and they bring devastation wherever they go.
Does armor actually matter on demons, you think, or is it kind of more just like an appearance kind of thing?
You know, I've actually wondered that too. I think there's maybe a subtle link between, you know, its manifestation and its actual like ability to take damage, because like demons, they do take damage. Like you can shoot them with a bolter and it will have an effect. It's not like zero effect. But like, is it a 1-to-1 comparison? Like the amount of armor he wears is directly related to like what kind of tank shell he can tank. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess if you can manifest weapons and they're kind of actually weapons and function like weapons, you could manifest armor and have it function like that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an aesthetic thing though too. It's like it just looks cooler. And in the end, it's a bunch of nerds making a game that we all love, and it looks cooler.
No, you're not looking deeply into it enough.
Sorry.
Everything has to have a purpose.
It's covered in spikes and chains, and it's fucking tight.
Yeah.
The Bloodthirster model, the newer one that GW came out with, is actually pretty tight too.
Ooh, yeah. A couple different kits in it or two.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about it, is that it's actually pretty versatile for a big kit. Those big kits are hard to make multiple poses, but this one they seem to do a good job.
Do not fucking touch it the right or the wrong way though. It breaks. My buddy again, Tyler, has that model, and that little fire thing that it's standing on.
Yeah,
it snaps right off. And his whip, his like chain whip that has the big like mace thing at the end, gone.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, as much as I love my buddy Tyler, he's the guy that's like, he'll take a model and he'll be like, oh, he's dead. Okay. And then throw it 3 feet into his shoebox, which is the rest of his army.
Yeah, that's a Khorne player. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, all this talk of how powerful and strong they are, but their models are so dainty.
Have you seen the Kabanda model?
Yeah.
It's like the $300 kit or over $300 kit. That one's sick.
Yeah. Have you seen it in person?
No. Is it big?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I mean, the base looks huge. Like this thing looks like it's fucking monstrous. So.
Yeah. I
want to see it side by side with the typical Bloodthirster, like the classic GW one.
Yeah.
If anyone out there has it, I want to see a side by side comparison. Yeah. Bloodthirsters pretty much embody like the prototypical idea of a demon with like the hoofed feet and like red skin and big horns and snarling face. The really old ones had like leaned more heavily. They've always been described as being dog faced. So like the really old Bloodthirster models always leaned more heavily into the dog face part of it, but I'm glad they've moved away from that aesthetic.
Yeah.
We see too, like we were talking about power levels in Demon Princes, but we see too in the greater demons kind of this power level where we got GW has their plastic Bloodthirster. Then we got the Horse Heresy Cow Bunda, which is even bigger. And then we have like the old Forge World model, Angrath the Unbound, which is even bigger than that. But they're all still, like you said, that same kind of, they got the hoofs, they got the fun kind of snarling horned face, the wings.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to just snag one of the GW Balrog kits from the Lord of the Rings game and just kind of kit bash that a little bit,
Yeah, do that or use that for a Demon Prince, but either one definitely would work really good.
Yeah.
Mark mentioned on an episode, and I've seen in real life, of course, that he actually did that for the Balrog.
Did you?
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, sick. Cool.
Yeah, it worked really nice. The flames and the you toss on some chaos shields on it. Very fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it looked good even as a Balrog too, because the typical Balrog doesn't really have a lot of armor on him or any armor really. But adding those armor plates actually makes it look like really sick.
Yeah, terrifying. All right, let's hop to lesser demons now. Though individually weaker than their towering counterparts, lesser demons are no less terrifying than those unfortunate enough to face them. Bloodletters are the lesser demon, and their purpose is the eternal warriors of Khorne, the foot soldiers of the blood god's endless war. Their sole purpose is to spill blood, to fight with a ferocity that leaves no mercy or quarter for their enemies. These demons of Khorne are summoned to serve in brutal, savage battles fought across the realms, driven by the unyielding desire to slaughter all those who stand before them. They're relentless, tireless in their pursuit of combat, embodying Khorne's rage and their thirst for violence. Each bloodletter exists to fuel the blood god's hunger, and though the slaughter they bring, they earn Khorne's favor, seeking to honor him by spilling as much blood as possible. They are the embodiment of Khorne's martial might and unrelenting bloodlust. Their appearance. Bloodletters are horrifying, emaciated creatures with twisted, nightmarish visage of demonic warriors. Standing taller than most mortal men, they have gaunt, sinewy bodies covered in crimson skin that gleams with unnatural, hellish glow. Their faces are twisted into grotesque sneer with sharp, fanged teeth jutting out from under elongated, snarling jaws. Horns sprout from their skulls, and their bodies are marked with Khorne sigils and horrific tattoos of skulls and gore. Their claws are long and their razor sharp, perfect for tearing into flesh of their enemies. Bloodletters are also adorned with crude, barbed armor, though their appearance is more defined by their monstrous form and their bloodthirsty, unrelenting presence. Their very appearance is enough to strike terror into those who face them as they charge into battle with unrestrained, savage rage. I've seen a bunch of people paint their bloodletters or just Khorne demons as like this lava heat fire type instead of like the blood theme, but very cool. Just heat and power and wrath. The powers and abilities of bloodletters. They are the personification of Khorne's hatred and bloodlust, and as such, they possess terrifying powers on the battlefield. These demons excel in close combat, moving with incredible speed and agility despite their hulking forms. Their main powers lies in their strength and ferocity, capable of cleaving through their enemies with ease. Their unholy connection to Khorne imbues them with unbreakable will, making them relentless in their pursuit of their prey. Bloodletters have an innate ability to sense the blood of their enemies, drawing them into battle like a predator sensing its prey. They are capable of using their brute strength to overwhelm foes, cutting through armor, flesh, and bone alike. Additionally, their bloodlust is so overwhelming that they can inspire fear and dread into the hearts of mortals, often breaking their enemies' resolve before the battle even begins. War gear. The Bloodletters are armed with the massive weapon known as the Hellblade, a cursed, serrated sword that is as much part of their being as their hatred for their foes. This weapon is capable of slicing through the toughest armor and cleaving the flesh of enemies with a single stroke. The blade is imbued with fury of Khorne himself, constantly thirsting for blood. Bloodletters also carry the weapon with brutal efficiency, using it in a fury of savage strikes that leave nothing but carnage in their wake. Though they are often seen wielding only Hellblades, their savage nature of Khorne's warriors means they'll often fight with whatever they can find, be it claws, fangs, or their own brute strength, always driven by the bloodlust that burns within them. They're the living embodiment of Khorne's unending rage, and their weapons are instruments of destruction, designed to bring death and bloodshed wherever they march. One thing I think that makes Khorne unique too is how many actual physical weapons he uses as opposed to the other gods. Like this is a very powerful sword that is just given to their weakest kind of guys, where Nurgle might just, all they need to do is scratch you and they can infect you or breathe on you even. And the demonettes, they're trying to seduce you, more so than kill you sometimes, so they don't need these giant swords. And yeah,
even the demonettes typically use like their hands or their claws that are actually like outgrowths of their body rather than objects that they wield.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of like tentacles or like crab hands, like claws and stuff that like you were talking about, Christian. You don't see a lot of that with Khorne. It is mostly like the forge of war. The weapons themselves is a celebration of that war, thereby an extension of that war. So it has that vibe for sure. Yeah. But if we get into the beasts and go more of the beasts of the warp in the chaos form, so unrestrained by humanoid form, the beasts of the warp are chaos incarnate in primal, terrifying shapes. So we have the flesh hounds. The flesh hounds are the savage, bloodthirsty hunters of Khorne, and I'm sure the low-hanging fruit here, guys. We all know what they are. We all call them one thing: corn dogs. They're the corn dogs. They're the corn dogs.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
No.
Oh my gosh, they're the corn dogs, guys.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I want one. I want two.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, they are created by the blood god to track down and tear apart his enemies. These terrifying beasts are the embodiment of Khorne's insatiable thirst for slaughter. Their sole purpose is to hunt down and rip apart those who dare to flee from battle, ensuring that no soul escapes the bloodshed. Whether they are tearing through enemy lines or chasing down lone survivors, fleshhounds are relentless in their pursuit. Their very presence on the battlefield serves as a reminder that no one is safe from Khorne's wrath, and no enemy will ever escape his thirst for blood. Their appearance. Fleshhounds are terrifying, muscular beasts with the body of a large hunting hound, their form twisted by the power of the warp into something far more monstrous. They have blood-red spiked fur that seems to shimmer with a hellish glow, their eyes burning with the fire of Khorne's fury. Their jaws are filled with razor-sharp fangs, capable of rending flesh and bone with ease. Their limbs are powerful and equipped with thick, clawed feet that allow them to track and hunt with terrifying precision. Fleshhounds have the appearance of beasts twisted by the very essence of Khorne's rage, with jagged spines running along their backs and horns, jutting from their heads like grotesque trophies. They are the perfect creatures for Khorne's hunting grounds, sleek, deadly, and relentless in their pursuit. Their powers and abilities. Fleshhounds possess incredible speed and agility. Their enhanced senses allow them to track their prey with deadly accuracy. They are capable of moving swiftly across the battlefield, closing the distance between themselves and their enemies in a blur of motion. Their keen sense of smell allows them to track the scent of blood, and they are capable of sensing fear and weakness from great distances. These beasts are viciously aggressive, tearing through enemy ranks with their fangs and claws, often ignoring wounds to continue their relentless pursuit. Fleshhounds can also unleash terrifying howls that bolster the bloodlust of nearby Khorne demons, inspiring them to even greater acts of violence. In battle, fleshhounds are not just hunters, but instruments of destruction that ensure no one escapes Khorne's wrath. And the war gear. Unlike many of Khorne's other followers, fleshhounds do not require weapons. Their bodies are their war gear. Razor-sharp claws and fangs are more than enough for these bloodthirsty beasts. However, they are often enhanced with demonic runes and markings that amplify their bloodlust and strengthen their physical prowess. Some of the more favored packs may be adorned with chains or collars marked with sigils of Khorne, symbols of their unholy bond with the blood god. These symbols do not serve as restraints, but rather as markers of the pursuit to hunt, to kill, and to spill the blood of their enemies. Fleshhounds are pure, unrelenting killing machines, relying on their raw physical prowess and ferocious nature to tear through all who oppose them. Their war gear is the embodiment of their savage nature. No tools are needed when a beast is this deadly. This is the Khorne dogs. I can't believe you've never heard that. Oh man,
you ruined them. Such a cool.
I'm sorry.
Unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never.
I'm no longer afraid when they attack me now for being a coward. I'm like,
yeah,
well,
corn dogs.
Just shitty fast food.
They're pretty cool. Their models are interesting. Like it is a very bestial dog-like thing, but it has like this cool spinal, almost Dilophosaurus frill kind of around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just like looking at like, just the dog from Sandlot, like with red on it. Like, no, these things are pretty nasty looking. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that they can just track you through the warp, and they're find you once they kind of get that scent. They're gonna find you.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty sweet.
How big do you think they are?
I would say like lion sized almost. So like I would not view them as like a big dog. I would say they are like a space marine is what, like 10 feet?
I think
Like
8.
a Primaris space 8 feet. Yeah.
8, 9.
I would say, yeah, they come up probably just like near chest height, I would assume.
On a space marine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're almost like bears, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, yeah, compared to, like, imagine if you're a guardsman facing those down. It's even as a space marine, if they're a challenge, imagine like wrestling one of those bad boys.
Yeah.
And
something we haven't mentioned at all on this episode yet is we've talked about the model range from GW, but these are all also usable in Age of Sigmar. So when you guys look at like a lot of the images or go to your hobby store and check out like the demon stuff for Khorne, any of the demon stuff that goes with any chaos god is going to be pretty much usable in either of those. So the packaging you might see, like if you look up Flesh Hounds, the packaging might be Age of Sigmar, but it can be used in 40k. So if you're trying to find this distinction of like, well, what the hell is this only an AOS thing? No. So they just did a one packaging for all, but on the back it says like, oh, can be used in 40k. So just worth noting here.
There might be the odd hero that doesn't follow that same rule.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's a good thing to go by. Yeah.
Yeah, and even with the heroes, I mean, who's to stop you from buying one and using it from 40k anyways? I'm doing a Khorne Berserker army, and there's a really cool Khorne warlord from AOS who has a Flesh Hound on a chain as a pet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's my warlord as a space marine, so
he's rad. Yeah, my buddy Tyler plays that dude. That's a cool model. Yeah.
Oh, your buddies have all the models.
He's the chaos guy, dude. He's the chaos guy.
All right, let's get into everyone's favorite, the one creature, I guess, that we've all been waiting for, the Khorne steeds. Whether chitinous, serpentine, or equine, demonic steeds are unnatural mounts that amplify their rider's deadly prowess. The Juggernaut. The Juggernauts of Khorne serve as living siege engines and ruthless war beasts, embodying the sheer might and unstoppable force of the Blood God. These massive armored beasts are used by Khorne's most brutal and vicious followers, especially his demonic knights and bloodletter champions. Their purpose on the battlefield is to charge headlong into enemy lines, breaking apart formations and sending foes fleeing in terror. The Juggernauts are relentless, designed to mow down any who stand in their way, trampling and smashing through everything in their path. As symbols of Khorne's wrath, they inspire fear and bloodlust, driving their riders into ever more brutal acts of slaughter. Their charge is a harbinger of doom, a force of nature that cannot be stopped, except by the most insurmountable of obstacles. Appearance. A Juggernaut is a colossal bull-like creature covered in thick armor-plated skin that glints like brass and iron. Its massive frame is built for destruction, with 4 powerful legs and ending in a sharp taloned feet capable of crushing anything beneath them. The head of the Juggernaut is equally imposing, with glowing, bloodshot eyes and wickedly curved horns that can gore enemies with terrifying precision. Its mouth is filled with jagged teeth, and its snout constantly drips through the blood of the enemies. These beasts are often adorned with spiked chains, twisted symbols of Khorne, and other demonic runes, making them appear even more terrifying. Their appearance is a testament to the raw, primal power of Khorne, combining brute force with relentless aggression. When they charge, the earth shakes beneath their thunderous steps, a sound that heralds doom. Yeah, they are very bull-like, but I would even go as far as saying like they're almost rhino-like, as in not rhino the vehicle, but a rhino as in a rhinoceros. Like, just an unstoppable charging beast. I did mention they had kind of like talon feet, but they do have they're hoofed, but the hooves have like spikes on them, which are really cool. I have a few Juggernauts, of course, with my army, and
they got a cute little metal tail too on them. Little
yeah,
nublet.
tiny little nub. Yeah. I wish they did sell a dedicated Space Marine Juggernaut kit. They have the one that's like a Lord of Skulls, or can be like a generic Lord on a Juggernaut, but they don't sell like a squad or, a box of 3 Space Marine mounted Juggernauts, which is a shame.
Real
but
shame.
I did buy the fantasy ones and kit bash them into Space Marines. So
perfect.
Cannot stop the Juggernaut. Yeah.
No. It'd be cool to see like a Juggernaut with like a heavy bolter Space Marine mounted on the back.
Yeah, that would be so awesome.
Yeah.
Like one of the Kroots that are riding their Krutoks when they that pose. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Except Juggernaut style. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Ursats is challenging me in the chat, claiming that they do make it. Well, Ursats, you're wrong. They do have the one. I mentioned the one hero kit, but they don't have like a squad kit.
Yeah, it's just the Lord on Juggernaut, right? The World Leader's Lord.
Yeah. And I bought 2 of those to get both poses out of them. And then I bought a box of 3 knights that I converted it. So I have a squad of 5 Juggernauts. But even those fantasy Juggernauts are a little bit smaller, and they're not posed as epically as those lords. So
see, that was their plan all along. See, okay.
Yeah, I just dumped like 3 times the amount on crap.
If we make the squad box, Christian just buys 1. So guys, what do you think? Let's just do the one fucking model in the box, and he'll have to buy 3 or something.
You'll buy 3, don't worry.
Yeah.
That was when I was more irresponsible. I'm very responsible now.
Yeah.
All right, let's carry on with the Juggernauts. They possess immense strength, able to crush even the most fortified structures underfoot with sheer bulk. Their charge is a devastating weapon capable of smashing through enemy lines with ease. These beasts are almost invulnerable to conventional weapons, as their armor-plated hide is tough enough to shrug off most blows. The Juggernaut's relentless nature also makes it difficult to stop once it begins its charge, with a terrifying momentum that few can match. In battle, the Juggernaut is not only a weapon of destruction, but a symbol of unstoppable rage, driving Khorne's followers into a frenzy of bloodlust. The sheer brutality of their physical presence is enhanced by their demonic nature, making them a constant terrifying threat on the battlefield. Additionally, the Juggernaut's presence bolsters the power of those who ride it, with the riders drawing strength from the beast's indomitable will to kill and destroy. Juggernauts are heavily armored with brass and iron plating covering their bodies, making them nearly impervious to most forms of attack. Their massive muscular bodies are also equipped with enormous claws and jaws capable of shredding through both infantry and heavier targets alike. The most notable war gear of a Juggernaut, however, is the chin or spike castle turret on its back, where demonic champions ride into battle. These riders often wield powerful weapons such as massive axes or flails to add even more carnage to their charge. The Juggernaut itself is adorned with Khorne symbols and runes of war, marking it as a creature born of battle and slaughter. Some Juggernauts are further enhanced by demonic markings that augment their already formidable strength, making them even more terrifying forces on the battlefield. Their war gear is not only meant for offense, but for intimidation. Each Juggernaut is a living weapon, a demonic siege machine capable of decimating anything in its path.
Yeah.
Okay, so question. Cool. And forgive the ignorance in this, because like maybe we just said it and I just glossed over it, but like it's a demonic engine, it's a living weapon as we called it, but this is or is not an animal per se. Because I'm looking at the model and like, okay, there's a mouth, there's teeth, like there's clearly eyes, like it's demonic possessed, like that seems, it's got the cool like helmetish hood kind of mask thing. But I look at the body and the legs and it's like, that's a fucking robot.
Yeah. Where does the demon start and the demon engine begin?
And maybe that's the ambiguity that's really cool with this. But I'm just curious of like, is this machine first, then possessed and kind of like thrown through the warp imbued, and then it like comes to life? Or is it living weird demonic creature first, and then just a ton of cool armor and mechanical adaptations and like mechanical stuff put on it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine it reminds me a lot of like the same design aesthetics of like the Mauler Fiend or the dragon thing, where they act like animals. But yeah, are they like possessed machinery, or are they animals that are wearing the accoutrement of genes? Have you ever seen Transformers?
Unfortunately, yes.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that there's like which came first kind of question. I think they are like that is the form that they take.
Cool. I'm good
it
with
would
that.
be my 10 cents. But.
Yeah.
Cool. And speaking of demon engines, would do them next. The fusion of warp spawned entities and infernal machinery. Demon engines are the unholy creations of the dark mechanicum, melding demonic essence with twisted technology. Like demon engines, we know are typically made by Vashtar in the Forge of Souls, I believe that place is called. And yeah, like the Juggernauts, they're not like that, where they're not a part of that whole thing where they're not being made in the Soul of Forge, and demons aren't fighting over that body and fighting it. But these demon engines are. We do have some big examples like the Brass Scorpion that is also pretty animalistic, but has probably a very different demon than like the Blood Crusher, which is kind of the demon. Other cool demon engines are the Lord of Battle, Cauldrons of Blood, Tower of Skulls, Death Dealers, Blood Reaper, Doom Blaster, Blood Slaughterer, Blood Throne, Skull Cannon, Lord of Skulls, and the Khitan. I like the Khitan a lot. It's basically a Lord of Skulls with the bottom half of an Imperial Knight, essentially. Top half Lord of Skulls, bottom half legs. Very cool.
That's the way some argue should always have been, and not in fact a upper body attached to a tank
with like giant barrels on the back of it that hold skulls that he can shoot. Like fucking crazy.
It is pretty goofy looking. It's funny.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the worst vehicles or models.
Yeah. Khorne demon engines are the embodiment of destruction, forged to bring war on a scale unseen by mortals. These hellish constructs serve as the blood god's tools of pure carnage, combining the horrors of the Immaterium with the unrelenting power of war machines. Their purpose is to wreak havoc upon any and all enemies of Khorne, whether on the battlefield during sieges, or during sieges. These demon engines are often used to crush entire fortresses or smash through enemy lines, their mere presence enough to send foes fleeing in terror. They are not mere machines, but instruments of Khorne's bloodthirsty will, driven by the eternal desire for slaughter and conquest. The presence of Khorne demon engines on the battlefield ensure that the enemies of the Blood God will face not just defeat, but utter annihilation. Their appearance. Khorne demon engines are grotesque amalgamations of twisted machineries and demonic flesh. Their hulking forms are heavily armored, covered in brass plating etched with symbols of Khorne and the marks of countless battles. Each demon engine is unique, with designs that vary from the towering, brutal visage of the Lord of Skulls to the more agile and fearsome Skull Crushers. They are adorned with jagged spikes, serrated blades, and demonic faces screaming in eternal torment. These machines appear as if they are forged from the very nightmares of war, with burning, glowing eyes that radiate of hatred and fury. Their every movement is an assault on the senses, from the grinding of metal to the shrieking, tortured souls trapped in their engines. These constructs are both terrifying and awe-inspiring, with their presence on the battlefield marking the arrival of pure, unrelenting violence. Powers and abilities. The powers of Khorne demon engines are as brutal as the god himself. These monstrous creatures or creations are imbued with the same rage and bloodlust that drives the demons of Khorne. They are unstoppable forces with forces of destruction, capable of tearing through even the most fortified positions with ease. The engine's abilities vary depending on the design, but all are powered by demonic energy, allowing them to perform feats of strength and endurance far beyond that of mortal machines. They can charge through enemy lines with terrifying speed, crushing all in their path. Their armored hides make them resistant to the most conventional weapons, and many are equipped with devastating close combat weapons like chain blades, crushing limbs, or flails of death. They also have ranged weapons, blasting skulls, infernal cannons, and heavy warfire that allow them to obliterate enemies from a distance. Each demon engine embodies the will of Khorne to kill and slaughter. With each strike, it channels its unholy wrath into the material realm. The war gear. Khorne demon engines are equipped with an array of war gear designed to maximize their ability to slaughter all those who stand before them. Many of these engines are fitted with massive close combat weapons like flails of blood, bladed appendages, or sword-like tusks that rip through flesh and bone with a single blow. Additionally, they are often armed with ranged weapon that belches fiery death, such as skull cannons that launch explosive skulls at their foes, or Lord of Skulls, which boast heavy firepower from the form of devastating plasma cannons or mortar-like artillery. Some demon engines are also equipped with special devices that harness the demonic energy coursing through their frames, allowing them to unleash blasts of warp-fueled energy that teleport short distance to catch enemies off guard. All their weaponry, however, serves the same purpose: to tear through enemies and carve a bloody path across the battlefield in the name of Khorne. Their war gear is both terrifying and brutal, reflecting the overwhelming ferocity of its creator.
Yeah. Sweet.
Fucking demon engines, man. They're so cool. I love how each one can have such a distinct vibe. And what kind of demon you bound inside the demon engine might affect the demon engine. Like, just imagine a demon engine with a bloodthirster as opposed to a bloodletter in it. How would that affect it?
And this, I think, is a distinction between what we were talking about before, where it's like, to be bound this way is different than having some sort of like cultist or some sort of like imperial psyker try and bind a Khornate demon to some other form, like against its will. I think there's a distinction between these two here, where like the demon engines, it's like, you're going to use this for war, you're going to use this for the glory of Khorne, versus it being bound to something else, like we talked about, where it's like, fuck this, I don't want to be part of this. I'm just going to burst forth and not be contained. Yeah. So there is a difference here.
Yeah. Yeah. They seem to be happy with this form of imprisonment, or at least they're not happy, but it's fine because it just makes them angry and more powerful. But either way, they're doing what they need to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I would feel like it's an upgrade too. Like if you're a bloodletter, you're just a measly little bloodletter, and you get put into a fucking demonic engine, and you're like, you are now, one of the what's that model that has like a forge fiend? If you're like a forge fiend, that's an upgrade.
That's an upgrade.
You got called up to the big leagues on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think of a little nerdling getting trapped in like a massive war engine, like Soul Grinder.
Yeah.
It's got like little man syndrome and always just smashing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Little nerdling syndrome. Yeah. And that's the demonic legion. They're all pretty straightforward. They all have a nice little purpose. I think, of all of them, Juggernauts, they're the coolest. Of all the demons out there, Juggernauts and the Khorne dogs are the coolest.
That's the vibe for you. That's your favorite.
Yeah, man. I just picture an army of them, of just Juggernauts with demons on it, maybe led by like one Chaos Space Marine. But then, they just have all their hunting dogs, and they just trample and devour everything.
Yeah. Christian, what's your vibe on the what's your vibe on the Khorne stuff? Like where if you're gonna do a Khorne army, what demonic army? Like, what's your vibe here?
I think definitely Bloodthirsters are my favorite. I try and get 8 uniquely posed.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be a cool army too.
Yeah. That makes you buy more boxes.
Angron, the demon primarch of the World Eater, his personal bodyguard is 8 Bloodthirsters. So that would be the fucking cool army to do. You get Angron and his 8.
Sweet.
Yeah, and you could roll on like any other army on the table.
Yeah.
Imperial Knights, freaking Horde armies, doesn't matter.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Oh, man, it's a dirty thing doing Lorehammer because now I go to bed dreaming of minis like every time this fucking happens.
Yep.
Why do we do it?
Why do we do this?
Is it self-harm at this point? Like, at what point is financial ruin the real situation here that I face?
There's only so many hours I can spend on Pinterest on my phone looking at other people's paint jobs of stuff, like holding it in front of my face as I'm laying in bed, like, oh, it's only 3 a.m.
Sniffing your screen, scratching it, touching it, please. Just a little more essence.
Oh, the Zenithal Prime is so good on these. Cool. Yeah. Man. Khorne's rad. Khorne's so cool.
Yeah.
It's you know what you're getting into, and it's one of those that's like there's no real wrong answer for sure in any of the ruinous powers. Khorne seems to be the one that is the most obvious and most, I would say, most prevalent. If you're a chaos player, if I got 100 chaos players in a room, I would say the majority of them, if you were doing like a demonic army, would be Khorne.
I'd say that's my experience too.
Yeah. I think Nurgle comes a close second.
Yeah.
Then probably Tzeentch, and then probably Slaanesh afterwards, because Khorne just has, you're going to kill things. You're going to do it in a really cool spiky way. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we got a little more time here. There are some notable demons that we could get to, but also, man, I just feel like I condensed all the notable demons always. I feel like I did that on the previous 2 episodes, and I already have the Slaanesh episode notes written. I feel like I did the same to them. So maybe let's do call-ins, and maybe we'll talk about some demons with the call-in guests here. But I'm going to drop a link in the show, and if you want to be a part, you can hop on in and say hello. Yeah, we're talking about notable demons in and the different models that they've had. Angrath the Unbound is such a fucking huge bloodthirster, and I remember back in the day, like 6th edition, it was worth 888 points, and that was a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Yeah, beefy model. We got Jax coming in. Welcome to the show.
Yo, everybody.
There he is.
How's it going?
Yeah, going good. Do you like Court more than you like Nurgle?
I have to give it to Khorne by a landslide. I mean, coolest chaos god.
Okay, well, so we can actually talk, unlike the last time where you just belittled poor Papa Nurgle, made him feel bad.
Fair enough.
He just wanted you as a follower, and you kind of spat in his face. And yes, he did like that, but he was still sad.
6 feet. 6 feet. That's all I gotta say.
What's your favorite Khorne demon? Or if you could do like some type of blood legion, what would be the vibe?
I gotta say, my favorite Khorne demon would have to be Angron. Just hands down, like, he's got more character than just beat man with the sword. He's genuinely just like a tragic, like, Primarch character. Like, you gotta love him for it. And Blood Legion, eh? So here's I actually got an idea.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No.
I remember like actually looking this up and never remembering to bring it up, but Harad either go like 2 directions when they worship something. Either they go Cain or Khorne usually, and I think that'd be so cool to like represent like a Hrud army on the tabletop.
You think they go Khane or Khorne specifically?
Yeah, there's a few examples of them. They were made like Eldar time, so there are examples of them worshiping like the Eldar god of Cain, and I mean, who like cares? They like go around on the battlefield just murking people left and right. Like that's Khorne.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like of all the gods, that would be the farthest one. I'd love to see the source on that. Like, because yeah, you know, like with Hrud, entropy is their big thing. So Nurgle is clearly a given, but then also their whole kind of control and change and time vibe that could also be Chinchian. But Nurgle, I never quite got that. Oh, I mean, that's Khorne. I never quite got that vibe.
Yeah, it's I actually just found it. It was really cool. Like Hrud, like I mean, like you're spilling blood in the battlefield. That's like Khorne's proud.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, anytime you do that, you gotta feed that god, but
I'll try to find the source for you and DM it to you later. But anyway.
Yeah.
Source that came to me in a dream.
yeah. So it sounds like.
This
what else?
obscure
What
part of the
thoughts
internet,
do you
I
have
found
for
it.
us?
Khorne. One thing I kind of like hope they do with his lore a little bit more, like we got the whole invasion of Ultramar from Nurgle. We're getting a bunch of Slaanesh stuff now, and with Fulgrim and all that. I kind of want like a revamp of like Khorne, like a Khorne campaign. Like, sure, we got this whole thing with Dante on Ball when he was fighting the Tyranids with them, but like that was like a kind of a minor thing. Like, oh no, the Tyranids are invading. Oh no, Angron's helping. Oh no, the Tyranids, back to the Tyranids. I kind of really like a sandbox kind of like Khorne, like showing up and doing something like more.
Yeah.
More core.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of some type of ritual that would leave a mark on the galaxy that would be noteworthy. Yeah.
Maybe like a Khorne civil war between all those like 8 guys.
Ooh.
Khorne against itself.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a fun campaign. Khorne just goes on a rampage against the other gods, so the campaign is Khorne versus Chaos, essentially.
I would play that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Any
other thoughts? We got another guest here. We could have on.
Gotta love Khorne. Can't wait for the Conrad Kurz episode.
God, we almost made it. We made it 2.5 or 2 hours, guys. 2 hours and no Conrad.
I'll be dead before I don't let a single Conrad Kurz reference these episodes. I don't know English.
All right, Jax. Well, thanks for calling in and ruining my show with your Kurz. Yeah, okay. And we also got Purge. We'll give you a second to kind of get to your computer. Liar says, I will one time donate 100 to never do a Kurz episode. Yeah, I'll fucking take that. Don't bend my arm. You know what I think is actually super satisfying? I'm going on vacation next week, so I won't be here. But the boys are still running Lorehammer. But you know what week the episodes are next week? It's going to be Space Wolves. So I won't be here for that nonsense.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You planned that. Like, you know what? Get your Space Wolves in.
Yeah, six months of planning to line it up perfectly for me to dodge town on Space Wolf episode. It's going to be perfect.
Am I
$100 for sure.
Do I get to be on that?
Yeah, you'll be on 2 of them.
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not here next week.
So you'll only be on 1 then.
Damn, because I do like Space Wolves, but I will be doing trivia night that is all centered around Lord of the Rings. So I will be reporting how I do in that. Anyways.
Nice. Okay, Purge, welcome to the stage. Hey, how's it going?
It's going. How you guys been doing?
Good,
Purge.
Are you a bloodthirsty follower of Khorne or what? What's your vibe?
No.
Do you want to drink blood from a skull or not? All right, Purge. Wow.
Did we lose him?
I don't know. And he lost me. Well, what a way to call in and disappoint your lore masters. Bummer there, Purge.
The internet is real and it breaks sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's pretty well where we want to leave this little bit of the episode. We still have another little bit of Khorne to go through. Like I said, maybe we do Khorne notable demons at some point. I'm not in a rush to do that, though, for sure. I'm definitely not in a rush. But I am in a rush to do forces or cults of Khorne and all the gods, where it's the actual mortal followers, as opposed to this episode that was like the demons. It would be fun to talk about mortal followers, talk about the different gifts that they can get and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to cover that. I think we could just kind of lump all the notable demons from all ruinous powers, all the chaos forces, like into one, just kind of do a who's who of all the different notable demons. But like you said, the mortal thing is cool. Like seeing like a lot of the cultists. I'm a big like culty guy. Like if you have a movie or a story or anything that has like weird secret cult stuff, like that's just my jam. I love that. And that's probably because like I'm an H.P. Lovecraft fan. But the mortal like cults that follow Khorne and worship him, I think are just so cool. And they've got some cool minis for that too.
Yeah. And you can always take like the AOS models and convert them like Christian did with his one chapter warband warlord guy. You take them, turn them into cultists, and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the next episode is going to be a Slaanesh episode, and we will see you there. But the end episode notes for this episode, if you want to buy some models, go to Merlin's Miniatures, use promo code Lorehammer, or use the link in the description below. You can go buy some cool models. You can go buy Karnak. You can go buy Scarbrand and some of these demons and stuff. They really got a fun vibe to them, for sure. And don't forget to come check out Lorehammer Listen to Lore podcast if you like homebrew lore. I'm over there reading off homebrew lore.
Yeah. And if you guys want to hear me chat about some board games, card games, tabletop war games, RPG stuff, check out season 1 of the Funkatronic Rex podcast. They just hit season 2 now with some new hosts, good friends of mine. Check them out, Funkatronic Rex podcast. And also, guys, April Fool's Day, April 1st. This is happening. This isn't a joke. We are doing a trivia show. I will be hosting. It will be Court Hammer. Liar, I've got you in the chat. Court Hammer. I will be hosting with Mark, Christian, and Logan, and I will be putting them to the test to see what they know about the 40K universe and maybe some fun little games in between. And the chat is going to be a little bit of a part of that, almost like call-ins, like a lifeline, if you will. So if you guys are not part of the Imperial Tithe and not part of the $5 tier, please jump in, get on it before then, because we'd love to have you be part of this. April Fool's Day, April 1st will be the trivia show with Lorehammer.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, and new project. If you like Pokemon and want to explore the Pokemon universe, come check out the Pokelore podcast. Right now, we are just uploading to YouTube, but we will be hitting all your podcast platforms. Just dropped an episode on Taurus, the bull Pokemon. So very fitting for this episode.
Yeah, Taurus versus Juggernaut. Who wins?
Yeah, definitely the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut's always 40K is always going to win, no matter what universe you fight.
That poor Taurus. It was a peaceful cow.
Yeah.
Very cool. And we got one new Patreon member in the last couple of days. Darcy, thank you so much for donating. Come join the Patreon. You get ad free. You put a smile on my face, and it's only $2.50. It's really not that bad, and you never hear ads again. And you put a smile on my face. So thank you so much, Darcy. And like I said, next episode is on Slaanesh, and hope to see you guys there. Court, Christian, thanks for joining.
Blood for the Blood God.
Skulls for the Skull Throne.
There we go.